Hello students, today we will see the biology class. What is the fundamental unit of life, or what is the building blocks of an organism? Yes, the fundamental unit of life is a cell. Yes student, the cell is a fundamental unit of life. If you take an organism, can you able to count the number of cells? No, it is impossible. It depends upon the organism. And for example, if you take a amoeba, an amoeba is made up of only one cell. It is a unicellular organism. Is it right, student? This one cell carry out its all functions like respiration, digestion, excretion, and the locomotion. Locomotion is nothing but the movement. What about the cat or dog? Do they somewhat the cat and dog, do they made up of only one kind of cell? Student, no, it is made up of many cells. Yes, it is called as the multicellular organism. If you take the multicellular organism, the many cells are present. The many cells together form a tissue. The tissues together form a organ. So, the many organs together form a somewhat one of the function, the organ system. The many organ system together form the whole organism. So already we learned this process in our previous classes. So the multicellular organism having the many organs, many tissues to perform its function. But in unicellular organism, the one cell itself, it perform all of its function. All cells of type A carry on the function of respiration. The all cells of type B carry on the functions of digestion. What do we call these groups of cells? Is there any name? Is there any idea about it, student? The group of cells? Yes. It is called as tissues. This tissue perform different functions. There are number of tissues in an organism. Let us see an example of human body. The muscle tissue. This muscle tissue is held for movement, the contraction and relaxation. Another tissue is a blood tissue. We call it as a connective tissue. This blood tissue helps to transport the nutrients, hormones and the waste materials from our body. Now let us look at the plants. Do the plants have any tissue? Yes, the plants also will have a tissue, student. Do the plant tissue and animal tissue are similar? No, they are not similar. Both the tissue are different. Now let us discuss the student. The difference of the plants and animals. The plants are non-motile. They cannot move from one place to another place. But animals are motile. The plants mostly have the tissue because only for mechanical support and the least maintenance also. The animals have the living tissue. The plant tissue shows the non-uniform group, but animal tissue shows the uniform growth. The plant tissue, there are mainly the two types, dividing tissue and the non-dividing tissue. The animal tissue, there is only one kind tissue, we call it the dividing tissue. From this introduction, we have come to the conclusion. Today, what topic I am going to take is the organization of tissues. The lesson is the tissue. In tissues, there are two types, plant tissues as well as animal tissue. The plant tissue, the plant tissue are of two types. There are the meristematic tissue and the permanent tissue. Under meristematic tissue, there are three types. It's apical meristem, intercalary meristem, lateral meristem. Under permanent tissue, there are two types: simple permanent tissue, the complex permanent tissue, and a simple permanent tissue. Okay, so what in a simple permanent tissue, there are three types of tissues: the parenchyma, collenchyma, and sclerenchyma. In complex permanent tissue, there are two types: it's xylem and phloem. In xylem, there are four types of cell: the xylem tracheids, xylem vessels, xylem parenchyma, and xylem fibres. In phloem also, there are four different types of elements: sieve tubes, companion cells, phloem parenchyma, and the phloem fibers. Thus, we'll see the plant tissues. In plant tissue, there are two types: meristematic tissue and the permanent tissue. Let us see the definition of tissue, student. A group of cells that are similar in structure and perform particular function is called a tissue. First, we will discuss about the plant tissue first. We will study about the meristematic tissue. The term meristem derived from the Greek word the meristem. The meristematic tissue, the cells are immature cells. This tissue is capable of cell division. The cells are living cells. In meristematic tissues, the cells are living cells and the cell wall is made up of the cellulose. Okay, it's one of the chemical component, and it has a large nucleus for a cell division. And here the vacuoles are absent and the intercellular spaces are also absent. The cells are closely packed without any intercellular space. The meristematic tissue, the growth takes place only in the shoot tip and the root tip. From an example, a plant for a meristematic tissue, I will show you where the growth takes place. See, the growth takes place in tip of the plant. You can able to see the tip. Here, the leaves are very large in the tip. The leaves are very small because somewhat the leaves are very large in somewhat the below region. I think the top of the region. At the tip of the leaves, the very small because this is the growing tip of the plant. The same thing if you see in the root system, this is the shoot system. Somewhat in this root system also the root tip is there. Here the growth will taking place in the root tip also, student. So the growth will takes place in the shoot tip as well as in the root tip also, so that the plant increase in length both in the shoot as well as in the root. Let me discuss about the types of meristem. Okay, in the meristematic tissue there are three types. Okay, the meristematic tissue, the first one is apical meristem, the lateral meristem, and the third one is the intercalary meristem. Apical meristem is present at the apex of the plant. It helps to increase the length of the plant. So this apical meristem is present both in the shoot tip as well as in root tip also. The lateral meristem is present at the radial part of the plant. So it will increase the girth of the plant. Radial part is nothing but the side way of the stem. Okay, then it increase the girth of the plant. The intercalary meristem is present in the nodes and internodes of the plant. See, node. See, in the shoot system, in the stem, the leaf is attached in a stem. This attachment of a leaf arises from the stem. So this part we call it's a node of the plant. In between these two nodes, the space occupying is the internode. The occupying space we call it's a internode. Now understand what is node and what is internode. Clear? So the base of the node between the two nodes, that meristem present, is the intercalary meristem. In the plant, one is the meristematic tissue. So we already learned about the meristematic tissue, and the second one is the permanent tissue. The permanent tissue, the cells are stop its division. These tissue are derived from the meristematic tissue, but these cells have lost the power of cell division. See, we will see the type of permanent tissue. There are two types in permanent tissue. The first one is a simple permanent tissue, and the second one is a complex permanent tissue. In simple permanent tissue, there are three types: the parenchyma, collenchyma, sclerenchyma. See, simple parenchyma tissue, from the name itself, we can know simple. It is a simple tissue, so it is made up of only homogeneous cell. It means only one type of tissue, so that one type of tissue itself can do its functions, so that it gets named simple. But complex tissue, it complex. The name complex means so many tissues are present in a group, but it perform a single function. That is we call it a complex tissue, students. Now, in the simple permanent tissue, the first we will see parenchyma tissue. The parenchyma tissue is present in mostly all parts of the plant, in root, in the stem, and in the leaves, and even in fruits also. The shape is round, the polygonal, elongated shape. See, in this parenchyma cells, intercellular spaces are present. The cells are loosely packed. Here, a large vacuole is present because it stores food material. And in some parenchyma tissue, the chloroplast is present. So, that is called as a chloroenchyma. So, if chloroplast present means it will do the function of photosynthesis, because the chloroplast, it is very helpful for the process of the photosynthesis. In some parenchyma tissue, air cavity are present, is called aerenchyma. So, this air cavity is help the aquatic plants to float on the surface of the water, student. We call it is a very helpful for the buoyancy of the plants. Buoyancy is nothing but floating on the water. In the xerophytic plant, they will store the water for the future by the help of the parenchyma tissue. Next we will see the second simple permanent tissue is collenchyma. The collenchyma tissue or living tissue, the collenchyma is present in the livestock, in the midrib of the leaves and peripheral region of the stem. The collenchyma is elongated in shape. It is a living tissue. Here, very little intercellular space is present, and a vacuole is also present, student. The corners of the collenchyma cells are unevenly thickened because the deposition of cellulose and pectin. The functions of collenchyma is the the mechanical support. It provides the strength to the plants also. The next we'll see the sclerenchyma tissue. Yes, it is the third simple permanent tissue, the sclerenchyma tissue. It made up of the dead cells, and the cell wall is very thick, and it is made up of lignin. Okay, it has a lignified walls. Here the cell's cavity is absent because the cell wall is very thick and made up of lignin. So the sclerenchyma are, there are some of the two types, the fibers and scleroids. Fibers are tubular in shape, tapering the both ends, and the fibers are lignified. Normally, the size of the fiber is 1 millimeter to 3 millimeter, but in some cases, for example, the cannabis sativa, the common name of the one of the plant, it is the hemp. The length ranges from 20 millimeter to 550 millimeter. So if you take the scleride, these sclerites are narrow elongator. The walls are lignified and pits are present on the walls. So the sclerites are present in the fruits and hard nuts to, some of the hard shell nuts to give. The function is, the husk of coconut is made up of the sclerenchymatous tissue. Okay, somewhat it also gives the protection to the fruits. Let's discuss the complex permanent tissue. It is the second type of permanent tissue. It is made up of more than one type of cells. All the cells together perform the particular function. See, there are two types of complex tissue. One is xylem and another one is the phloem. See, both the tissue comes under the vascular bundle. See, for a plant food, somewhat we can observe the plant food is necessary. So it is very important for the growth of the plants also. So these plants get the food only from this vascular bundles. So this is also made up of the xylem and the phloem. The xylem transport water and minerals. The phloem transport food materials. Now let us say about detailing the xylem. Xylem is a conducting tissue. It transports water and minerals from the root to all parts of the plant. The xylem conducts water only one direction, that is unidirection. But if you take a phloem, it transports food material from leaves to all parts of the plant body. All the direction, it is a bidirectional. So if you take xylem, there are four types of tissues in the xylem. They are xylem tracheids, xylem vessels, xylem parenchyma and the xylem fibres. Now we will see these cells one by one. The first one is xylem tracheids. The xylem tracheids are tubular in structure, but the ends are tapering so that the cells are not arranged one above the other. So because of that, many tracheids are arranged one after the other, then how can it transport the water? The walls of xylem pits are present, so through the pits transport the water and minerals. The xylem contain dead tissue. See, the cells, they transport water through these pits from one cell to another cell. Next we will see the second type of tissue. It's a xylem vessel. The xylem vessel or a dead tissue. The shape is tubular but the ends are not a tapering. It is a blend, somewhat a blend. So somewhat it's not a tapering, is nothing but it's a very blunt. So that it is transport a water from one cells to another cell. Next, xylem parenchyma. The xylem parenchyma is only a living tissue in the xylem cells. Already we discussed about the parenchyma cells and already we learned the functions of parenchyma cells also. So here the xylem parenchyma is also a living tissue. It stores the food material. Is the only function. it do. Next is the xylem fibrous. The xylem fibrous, the made up of sclerenchyma tissue. The xylem fiber is a dead tissue. It is a lignified wall. It gives strength to the xylem tissue. Next we move on to the another complex permanent tissue, phloem. The phloem is the conducting tissue. It conducts food from the leaves to all parts of the plants. See, the xylem conducts water one direction, somewhat only, but the phloem conducts from the leaves to all parts of the plant, because the food what the plant prepare, the leaves prepare by the process of the photosynthesis. The food has to reach all parts of the plants, to the roots, to the stem. Is it right? Till the apical part of the plant, the phloem composed of it also composed of the four elements. It's the sieve tubes, the companion cells, phloem parenchyma and phloem fibrous. First we will see the sieve tubes. The sieve tubes are tube-like structure. The cells are arranged one above the other. See, it has at each ends of the cells a sieve plate is present. Actually, the sieve plate is the conducting material of the phloem. In the sieve plates, many pores are present. These pores material somewhat filter the food from one cell to the another cell. The sieve tubes are made up of dead tissue. Next one is the companion cells. The companion cells is not as much function. It gives a companion to the sieve tube. The sieve tubes and companion cells together do the function of translocation of food material. It associated with the sieve tube and do the function of translocation of food. It is also tubular structure. The phloem parenchyma. The phloem parenchyma is only a living tissue. Here also the function of this tissue is store food. The phloem parenchyma cells are thin and is made up of cellulose. Next, the fourth element is phloem fiber. The phloem fiber is made up of a dead tissue. Its function is give strength and support to the tissue. Next, we will discuss the differences between the xylem and phloem. The xylem will conduct water and minerals, and phloem will conduct food. The conducting elements of xylem is tracheids and vessels. The conducting elements of phloem is sieve tubes and companion cells. In xylem, the conduction is always unidirectional from the root to the apical part of the stem. In phloem, the conduction is all part of the plants from leaves to the roots to the stem to all parts of the plants. The xylem composed of xylem vessels, the xylem parenchyma and xylem fibrous. The phloem consists of the four elements sieve tube, companion cells, phloem parenchyma and phloem fibrous. Now let us discuss about the difference between meristematic tissue and permanent tissue. The meristematic tissue, the cells are very small and the oval in shape. Okay, dear students, in today's class, so far we are discussing about the plant tissue. Next class we are discussing about the differences between the meristematic tissue and the permanent tissue. And we also discuss about the animal tissue. So wait for the next class, and thank you students.